I cannot believe this is in the Bible.
Neither can I, but that's because it actually isn't in the Bible. So Lily J is back, continuing her Muslim grift by now claiming that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is prophesied in the Bible, which we all know is laughably false. But let's see what she's got.
So is there any evidence to back up this claim?
Hi, Lily J. Yes.
So right there we already see a red flag, because ChatGPT does not name you unless you've already pre-programmed it or customized it. In other words, she's already programmed ChatGPT to give her biased answers that favor an Islamic worldview, because when I ask ChatGPT the same thing, it doesn't give these direct answers that she is getting.
There are several verses in the Bible that many scholars and Muslims believe refer to Prophet Muhammad.
There are no non-Muslim scholars who believe there are several verses in the Bible that refer to Muhammad.
One of the most famous references is in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 18, where God promises to send another prophet like Moses. The verse says, I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brethren, and I will put my words in his mouth.
Hang on, I thought this verse was about Jesus. I hear so many Christians say that this verse is referring to Jesus.
That's a common perspective among Christians. They believe this verse refers to Jesus because they see similarities in their missions.
Okay, so what I just noticed is the very first part of the verse. It says, I will raise up for them a prophet like you. Now God is talking to Moses. Like you. If you look at Prophet Muhammad and you look at Jesus, which one of them represents or resembles Moses more?
You can always find arbitrary similarities between Moses and Muhammad and Moses and Jesus, but the book of Deuteronomy already tells us the way in which the prophet will be like Moses. Chapter 34 says, And there has not arisen a prophet since in Israel like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. None like him for all the signs and the wonders that the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his servants and to all his land, and for all the mighty power and all the great deeds of terror that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. So the prophet like Moses will know God face to face and perform signs and wonders. Therefore the prophet cannot be Muhammad, because he never spoke with Allah face to face. He only allegedly spoke with the angel Gabriel, and the Quran says he didn't perform signs and wonders. Whereas in the Gospels we see Jesus did perform signs and wonders, and he did know God face to face. This is why the Gospel of John identifies the prophet as Jesus.
So what it says here, which is really interesting, is Moses and Muhammad both were lawgivers, whereas Jesus was a little bit different. He said, I think it was in Matthew, and he said, I have not come to abolish the laws of Moses, but I've come to fulfill them. So he never actually brought any new laws.
This is false. Jesus did give new laws. For example, John 13:34 says, Today I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Jesus also commanded that we be baptized, partake of communion, and believe in him for the atonement of sins. So Jesus did give laws under the new covenant. But again, this is missing the point. Deuteronomy already tells us the way the prophet will be like Moses, and Muhammad doesn't fit this description, but Jesus does.
So the next part of the verse is, I will raise up a prophet like you among their brethren. So if you look at the lineage, the bloodline of Moses, you can trace it back to Prophet Abraham. Abraham had two sons, right? He had Isaac and he had Ishmael. Now Isaac is the bloodline of the Israelites, the bloodline of Moses, whereas the bloodline of Ishmael is where Prophet Muhammad comes from. Isaac and Ishmael are brothers, and Muhammad comes from one bloodline and Moses comes from the other. I will raise up a prophet from your brethren, from your brothers. Like, it fits. This is like quite literally fulfilling the prophecy.
Actually, the opposite is true. The phrase from among their brothers refers to the Israelites. This literally disqualifies Muhammad from being the prophet. Notice what Deuteronomy 17:15 says about setting a king over themselves. One from among your brothers you shall set as king over you. You may not put a foreigner over you who is not your brother. So in Deuteronomy, to be among the brothers is referring to being an Israelite, not a foreigner like the children of Ishmael. And by the way, the children of Ishmael are never called the brothers of the Israelites in the Bible. So Deuteronomy 18:18 is saying the prophet has to be an Israelite. This explicitly disqualifies Muhammad, whereas Jesus fits this description. Moreover, Muhammad disqualified himself. Look at what Deuteronomy 18 says after this. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. And in Tabari, volume 6, we see Muhammad admitted to fabricating the satanic verses, where he allowed the worship of 3 goddesses. The scholar Shehab Ahmed noted that this incident is recorded in over 50 early Islamic sources. And so given all of these factors, Muhammad cannot be the prophet of Deuteronomy 18:18.